Hey there and welcome to DIY Projects with Pete. Today we're going to build a simple bed frame. Let's get started.
In this video, I'll be making a queen-size bed frame, but you can easily modify the width for different size frames. The plans and detailed tutorial for the queen frame can be found at DIYpete.com/bed frame. Start by cutting the posts for both the headboard and footboard. Then move on to the 2x4s and finally the cedar pickets. Or you could use 1x6 boards if you'd prefer. Make sure you give the wood plenty of time to dry out before building. Next, lay out the boards to see how the footboard will go together. This will consist of a post on each side, a 2x4 frame, and pickets that will cover one side. Go over each board with an orbital sander to smooth out the wood and to remove rough edges. I used 120 followed by 220 grit sandpaper. The pickets had a rough finish, so I sanded them until they were smooth to the touch but still had some texture. The boards are connected with a combination of pocket holes, 2.5-inch pocket hole screws, and wood glue. First, drill pocket holes on the ends of each board. Pocket hole locations are shown in the detailed diagrams of the plans on my website. Drilling pocket holes is easy and goes rather quick. Simply set the jig for the thickness of the wood and for the 2.5-inch long screws. We'll also be adding pocket holes to the side of the upper and lower board that will be used to attach the top cap board and the baseboard. We'll use the same jig settings for all pocket holes in this project. The two shorter outside boards will also have a couple pocket holes in the side to attach the frame to the posts. Once the pocket holes are completed, it's time to assemble. Lay out the boards and sweep off your work surface to make sure you have a nice flat work area. Then add glue to the end of each board prior to screwing the boards together. Connect each board using 2.5-inch long screws. Space each board appropriately and use clamps to hold the boards in place while assembling if needed. Wipe up any excess glue and get ready to attach the 4x4 posts. I used 1-inch thick spacer boards to prop the frame off the work surface so that it's centered in the middle of the 4x4. Once this is in place, secure the frame to the posts using wood glue and screws. Next, add the top 2x4 that will cap everything off. Secure in place using the pocket holes from the underside. Work your way from one end to the other. For additional support, I also used a couple screws from the top side of each 4x4 so everything fit together nice and tightly. Make sure to pre-drill prior to adding the screws, and you can fill the holes in with putty prior to finishing if you'd like. Then connect the lowest board at each end to the post. Connect to the rest of the frame, working from one end to the other. Now it's time to put the pickets in place. The pickets are each 5.5 inches wide. Add wood glue and then use a nailer or a hammer and nails to connect the horizontal pickets at each stud location. My 4 boards fit pretty well, but you can always use a table saw to rip down a picket if you need to in order to get a perfect fit. Here is the finished footboard and what the side facing the mattress looks like. Next, we'll move on to the headboard. The headboard is assembled exactly like the footboard. It just has taller posts and different lengths for the short vertical 2x4 boards. Since it is so similar, I'll go through this part of the build rather quickly. Drill pocket holes on the ends of each board and around the sides of the perimeter boards as we did earlier. Then assemble the frame with wood glue and screws at each joint, taking your time to ensure each connection is secure and that the boards are spaced properly. The middle board should be centered with the frame, and the 2 inner outside boards should be spaced according to the plans. A speed square is also handy to have to ensure things are lined up like they should be. Lay the frame and 4x4 posts on a flat surface prior to assembling. Use 1-inch spacer boards to line up the frame with the center of the posts, then attach the frame using the 6 pocket holes on each side. Make sure everything tightens nice and snug. Then move on to attaching the lower and upper boards. The lower board connects at each end, as well as from the frame board above it. Next, put the top board in place and attach using glue and screws. Use pocket hole screws to connect it to the frame, and then add screws from the top side for additional support. Now the frame is ready for the cedar pickets. Sand the boards prior to putting them in place, and then add some glue and insert the boards one at a time. I used a couple nails at each stud location. The headboard has 5 full boards and 1 board that's been cut down. Make sure all the boards fit together as close to each other as possible. Again, allow the pickets plenty of time to dry out prior to making the bed frame, otherwise they'll shrink and you'll have small gaps between the boards. I ripped down the 6th board to about 2 inches so it had a perfect fit. The lower portion of the headboard will be covered by the mattress once the bed is all set up. Next, we'll move on to the rails, which will connect the headboard to the footboard. The rails are made out of 2x8 and 2x2 boards. Cut them to length on the miter saw, sand the boards, and then connect the 2x2 board to the 2x8 using glue and wood screws. The 2x2 board will hold up the slats that help support the box spring. Drill pilot holes to prevent the wood from splitting, and then use 2.5-inch long wood screws to secure the boards together. The side of the board that looks the best should face outward. Now it's time to add a finish for your bed frame. I decided to use Minwax Clear Semi Gloss Polyurethane. I really like how it makes the natural color of the cedar pop and how easy it is to apply. Now, stains are another great option, and one of my favorite colors when staining is Minwax's Special Walnut Stain. For the poly, we'll use a good brush to apply a thin first coat. Work your way around all sides of the headboard and footboard, then add a finish to the rails as well, and once that first coat is complete, give the sealer plenty of time to dry. Once dry, I came back and used some 800 grit sandpaper to go over all the surfaces to smooth out the boards. After sanding, remove dust with a damp rag and then apply a thin second coat of polyurethane. Once complete, we can attach the hardware for the rails. I found the hardware on Amazon.com for $14, and they'll really make any bed frame super solid. I measured 1 3/4 inches down and then marked where to place the hardware. The knob side should be flush with the end of the board. Attach it using 1-inch wood screws and repeat this process for each end of the 2 rails. Use a total of 4 screws for each piece. The center hole can be used as a set screw once all the hardware is attached, although I've never needed to use it. Take your time with this process so that everything lines up perfectly. Next, attach the L-shaped bracket to each post. I measured up 9 inches from the bottom of each post and put a mark. I also cut 9-inch spacers out of a scrap 4x4 to hold the rails in place while attaching the brackets to the posts. The 2x2 should be lined up flush with the inside of the 4x4. Put the L bracket in place and insert the knobs into the bracket holes so they fall into the narrowest part of the hole. Then mark screw locations and attach the bracket using 1-inch screws. Test fit the first bracket to make sure it lines up, and that's all there is to it. Then move on to the other bracket locations and make sure to use 3 screws for each L bracket. Here I'm attaching the bracket to the footboard. Now we'll move on to the other headboard location. Notice how the 2x2 slat support is flush with the inside of the 4x4 and that the knobs are moved into the narrowest part of the hole on the L bracket to determine proper placement. Once the brackets are all installed, check to make sure everything fits together tightly. Then we'll cut slats with the miter saw to help support the box springs and the mattress. Sand the boards and pre-drill holes in each end. Then test fit the slats in the frame, but do not yet attach them. Now that the frame is complete, let it continue to dry and air out in the garage for a few days. Then move the frame into the bedroom and assemble it. The brackets make setup and disassembly go quickly. Lay out the pieces and attach the rails at each corner. Once in place, use a rubber mallet to tap the rails and make sure the knobs are secure in the lower portion of the L bracket holes. You can add a set screw if needed. I used a permanent marker to label the rails so I always know the proper orientation in case I move and need to take apart or reassemble the frame. Space the slats evenly, label them, and then attach at each end using a couple wood screws. And that's all there is to it. Add the bed and enjoy your new setup. I hope this inspires you to build something out in the garage. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Please comment below and let me know what you'd like to see built in an upcoming DIY video. Thanks for watching and cheers from Montana.